In America, everyone counts, and the 2020 census is how that great promise is kept. Respond today online, by phone, or by mail, and help inform hundreds of billions in funding for education, health programs, and more. Shape your future. Start at 2020census.gov. All right, folks. Representative John DeBerry Jr. had always represented his Memphis State House District in Tennessee as a Democrat. We don't have him out yet. All right, folks. I thought we had him as a guest. So let me just do this here. I'm going to push that story and go to this next story, and that is, you know what? We'll do this in here. Let me just do it right. I'll go ahead and do it right now. All right. So y'all let me know when he's on the phone. I'll talk with him about the panel. Again, he's represented this district, y'all, for 28 years. This year, though, he's going to be running as an independent because the Democratic Party Executive Committee decided to remove him because of his pro-life beliefs. According to the executive committee, one of the members was quoted as saying that, well, because he's an incumbent, those who ran against him didn't have the money necessary to run against him, and they did not believe that the people in his district fully understood that he was pro-life. Greg, you're from Tennessee. This is, I don't give a damn what your position is, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice. For an executive committee to remove a duly elected official because he is pro-life, that means you are depriving the people who have voted for him of representation, of him representing them.
Yeah, you know, Roland, we know what this is, brother. We know what this is. I mean, let's be clear. Here's a black man. He's Church of Christ minister. I got a lot of people in my family, Church of Christ. I love them. Of course, they're my people. Until people understand that we have a full range of opinions, you know, there are a lot of people in black communities who are against a woman's right to choose to terminate a pregnancy. I won't use the language pro-life or pro-choice because those aren't correlative. You know, if DeBerry wants to take that position, that's his position. And I'm sure, and I assume it's a position of conviction. And, you know, DeBerry is a famous name in Tennessee politics. Lois DeBerry was in the Tennessee legislature when I was in undergrad out of Memphis. So John DeBerry is, you know, his famous name. You know, these Democrats need to understand that in order to have our people still vote Democrat, got to be able to accommodate that type of opinion. Now, we don't all have to agree with it. I myself, I believe it's not about my personal beliefs about whether a woman should be able to terminate pregnancy or not. My belief is the state is not the same as our personal beliefs. I don't have the right to tell another human being what to do in a situation like that. But if DeBerry wants to mix his faith and his politics, that's who he is. And the Democratic Party in Tennessee is underwater anyway. So I don't know what the hell they think they're doing by doing that to him.
Look, the reality is this here, Reese. There are pro-life Democrats. There are pro-choice Democrats. I do not believe that the issue of choice or life should be a determinant as to whether or not you run as a Democrat. And to remove this man from the position, I don't care. That is idiotic to me that that's the decision that would be made.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously don't agree with his political ideology in this case. However, the bottom line is that he was elected. If people did not primary him, if they chose not to run against him because he was well-funded or he was an incumbent, that's on them. I think each politician, it's incumbent upon them to run on their platform and get the votes that they need to get elected. And so I think this is kind of usurping the will of the people and trying to, you know, impose an ideological purity test on somebody that is against what people have already voted for. So I don't agree with that. I do believe that the Democratic Party is a big tent party, even if I don't agree with everything that somebody says. And to me, I think choice, anti-choice, however, whichever language you want to use, goes beyond just a difference of an opinion, because ultimately what you do with your ideology, if that actually translates to trying to block contraception or block funding for Planned Parenthood or a number of things that go under the so-called pro-life or anti-choice banner, comes into play. But the bottom line is, if you won your election, if your constituents voted for you, then they have a right to that representation.
Representative DeBerry on the phone. I want to get him on because I think you know, this is the kind of stuff that, you know, you got Republicans whose whole position is they don't like pro-choice Republicans. That's their take. They don't like pro-choice Republicans. But it makes no sense because all right, now we have him here. Representative DeBerry? Can you hear me, sir? All right, so
I'm here.
All right, we got you. All right, so you've been pro-life all of these years, and so all of a sudden the decision was made to remove you. How did they arrive at the conclusion that they have the power to remove you from the ballot because of because you're pro-life?
Well, members of my opponent's executive team are members of the executive board or made the complaint to the executive board. So folks who work for my opponent did the complaint and pushed the complaint through. And so they have the right of using a provision in the law, which has never been used in this fashion before, to disassociate themselves with me. And they removed me from the ballot after I had qualified by having members of my community sign my petition, members of my constituents. They disqualified me after the filing deadline, and so I could not run as a Democrat or a Republican.
I read this one story where one of the executive committee members said that your constituents were unsure or they did not really know about your position. Really?
They have run against me 3 consecutive elections, putting everything out there. 3 Democratic opponents have run against me, talking about my disagreement with them, with the Democratic Party on abortion and on several other issues. So there is no way that my district could be misinformed or uninformed about where I stood. And not only this, they had the audacity to say that the people in my district basically didn't have sense enough to elect their representative. They had to do it for them because they weren't informed enough to make that decision. So we talk about a bunch of folks who probably have never set foot in District 90 making a decision for District 90.
You have led the Coleman Avenue Church of Christ in Memphis for the last 20 years. And this is the position that you've taken. Now, is this the only issue they have with you? I mean, do they appreciate you voting for them on other issues, and just on this one, you just happen to be pro-life?
Well, I have stood with them on many issues that are procedural and some issues that have to do with policies. So that has never been the problem of me just being a radical against the Democratic Party. This was the fact that they have run 3 consecutive elections against me. They have run 3 strong opponents, have financed them extremely well, and I still won by anywhere between 65 and 70%. The only thing they had left was to remove me from the ballot. So they had an individual here again that was a member of the staff of my opponent file a complaint, and they voted on the complaint with 48 hours notice in a Zoom meeting in the middle of a pandemic. They removed a 13-term incumbent who has been reelected by his district on a Zoom meeting.
I'm reading this story here, and it said that the executive committee had a responsibility, quote, to confirm the legitimacy of an individual representing themselves to be a Democrat. This is quoting Kendra Lee, a 32-year-old black Democratic activist and committee member from Memphis. She said, quote, There was never a question of morals or character. This is very much straight down the line as to your responsibilities as a Democratic elected official. So are they saying that in order for you to be a Democrat, you absolutely must be pro-choice?
Yes, they absolutely say that I must be pro-choice. And according to them, Democratic policy, somewhere along, they said, and I quote, the Democratic Party has evolved. And I'm hearing some other voices. I don't know if you can hear them.
No, we're fine.
The Democratic Party has evolved, and that I didn't evolve with it. And because of this, because this is their policy, this is their stand, I'm either pro-choice or I am not a Democrat. And it was argued during the meeting that they were shrinking the tent. The so-called all-inclusive party was excluding the one conservative Democrat in the entire state who is elected to the House of Representatives. But you're saying that...
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So they're saying that there wasn't room in the entire legislature for one conservative Democrat.
But here's the deal, though. I wouldn't even use the phrase conservative Democrat. There are a lot of African Americans who are very liberal, who simply, because of their moral convictions and their religion, are pro-life. They don't call themselves conservative.
Oh, exactly.
Now, according to the Tennessean, other members said that you took money from a Republican-aligned political action committee, that you voted for school vouchers, and that you voted for a Republican as House Speaker in 2019.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, everybody up there votes with Republicans. There are only 25 Democrats out of 99 in the House. It takes 27 Republicans and every Democrat for a Democrat to pass a bill on the floor of the House. So everybody up there votes with Republicans. As far as the Speaker was concerned, they all caucused and called me, one of the chairs of the Democratic caucus, called me, a delegation called me and said, we are all going to stand together behind the Speaker. We're going to all vote. We're going to start this year off good and in harmony. And they called me and said, we're going to vote for the Speaker. I said, are you sure about this? They said, yes, we're all going to vote for the Speaker. So I called the Speaker and asked him. And the Speaker said, oh, yes, that it was... We've already worked out our differences, and we're going to start the year off. We're going to bring in all the former speakers. The ceremony was set. On the way into the door to vote, they said, we changed our mind. I said, you did what? We changed our mind. We're going to run somebody. Now, knowing you only have 25, you can't, there is no way that you can possibly do this unless 27 or 28 or 29 Republicans vote for a Democrat for Speaker. So why would you do this, and why would you expect me to spend political capital in order to just make a show that they wanted to make on that day? And everybody up there gets money from Republicans and Democrats and whoever makes a donor, whoever gives them money. So all of that's just a bunch of hooey that they threw in there.
And the voucher issue, there are black people, there are Democrats who support school choice.
I was fighting for school choice before it was cool. Before the Republicans took over the legislature, I put in school choice bills. I have put in school choice bills for almost 20 years. So everybody knew where I was on vouchers, on educational scholarships, and busloads of black folks, busloads of African Americans come to Nashville every year begging for school choice, and they've just been ignored.
All right. Representative John DeBerry Jr., so you're running as an independent in November, correct?
Yes, that is correct. I'm running as an independent. That's all I had left. It was done in such a way that, as I said earlier, that the petition, that the complaint was filed after the filing deadline. So when it was filed, I could not run as a Democrat or as a Republican. The only option I had when they finished doing their vote of taking me off the ballot was to run as a write-in. That's a shot in the dark. We all know this.
Got it.
But my colleagues, both Democrat and Republican, voted for a bill and a change in the law that if an incumbent has been removed from the ballot after they have qualified, they can run as an independent.
All right. Representative DeBerry, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
I thank you for having me on today.
All right, folks, we did reach out to try to track down some members of the executive committee. We're going to try to get one of them on tomorrow because, Erica, I really would like to hear an explanation because I do believe it's fundamentally unfair. I don't care. Here's the deal. If you want to be pro-choice and run as a Republican, I got no issue. If you want to be pro-life, I got no issue. If you want to be pro-choice or pro-life as a Democrat, I got no issue. The voters are the ones who should decide who represents them.
Yeah, and I think one of the most surprising things to hear Representative talk about was that when he said that there are 25 members of their assembly, 25 members of the Democratic Party in that Capitol, as opposed to 99 Republicans. So they're definitely outgunned. So thinking about then some of the bills that he voted on, that definitely they had to cross the aisle because they really didn't have a choice. They're a small percentage of that entire Capitol body. And so to understand kind of where we are right now, and then that Democrats, people that carry Democrat, would actually exercise this type of coup, so to speak, is really surprising, especially given that this story was picked up on the Federalist. And so this is a story now that has been running for a few weeks on the Federalist page. This does not bode well, even though this is very much so relegated to that particular area. This does not bode well for the entire Democrat Party. I mean, because when you think about the way that this can really be teased out, to say, in fact, that Democrats are not the big tent party that they were, once were considered, and that they're actually moving out people who don't really fit the bill, and then that it be a Black lawmaker is very troubling. So I'm really interested in finding out, although he said that he's going to be running as an independent, is there any litigation that will be involved? Interested because they did, in fact, have another person that passed away in October of last year, a state representative, who they in fact said that caucus with Republicans, that he said things that were not flattering about the Democratic Party on a hot mic, a Black gentleman that passed away in October of last year.
Got it.
So I'm just wondering if it was just something that they'd experienced through him, that they said that they were just really going to cut off at the knees anyone that did not do as they all wanted them to do, so to speak.
Well, I can't wait to, again, talk to a member of the executive committee. I would love to get their perspective on this decision. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Unfiltered. They have these virtual reality headsets you see right there in the video there, folks. You can place your cell phone right in, watch the virtual reality content on Seek.com or other 360-degree video. You can also listen to, of course, with 360-degree 4D headphones, which is great for gaming, video, audio, you name it. If you want to get either one of these, go to Seek.com, CEEK.com, CEEK.com. Use the promo code RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020, and do so. And so we certainly appreciate them being a supporter of us right here at Roland Martin Unfiltered.